Hey guys, I'm Cameron and welcome back to my channel where we sip tea and also spill the tea as I talk about some of my favorite reads. So last week I brought you a video featuring my all-time favorite books of 2020, and now I thought it would be most fitting to bring you my most disappointing books of 2020. So without further ado, while my coffee is still piping hot, let's get into this video so that I can spill not just the tea today, but also the beans. That was a really bad joke, huh? Okay. So the first book on my list is Sins and Needles by Karina Halley. So I got this as a used book, so please forgive how it looks. I freaking tried so hard to get this little sticker off of this book. I think it was like a barcode or something, and oh my goodness, it's like this was like super glued into this thing. Like, it's crazy. I don't know, but so let me tell you what this book is about, and then I'll get into why this was definitely not my favorite book of the year. So this is about a girl named Ellie. I think, what's her last name? I can't remember her last name, but it's about a girl named Ellie, and she was raised by her parents to be a con artist. And while she is older, she ends up meeting this man who she really likes, but things happen and she ends up running away from this guy, and she decides that it's time for her to pull off one more big con on somebody so that she can get out of the con artist life for good and settle down with a good old-fashioned boy. So she decides to pull off her big con in no other than the place that she grew up in, and I think that's in California. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but anyway, she ends up going back to her old town of all things, and it's here that she meets her old best guy friend, and his name is Camden McQueen. They literally grew up together, but with them things also went south, and he is one of the main reasons why she ended up like leaving that town in the first place. But whenever she runs into Camden McQueen, she decides to pull off this con on him because she finds out that he is pretty loaded now. And so yeah, she ends up trying to con this guy, and he ends up pulling the rug out on her because it turns out that he knew that she was conning him the whole time. He basically blackmails her to help him with a problem that he's going through, and in return he won't tell the police that she was trying to steal from him. So basically there ends up being like a romance between Camden and Ellie, and things also get really crazy and heated whenever her old ex comes in and mixes up things between them. So yeah, there was so much action in this book, but honestly guys, let me tell you what I didn't like about this. So first of all, this book is written by Karina Halley, and if you don't know yet by now, I love another series that she has written called the Experiment in Terror series. Guys, I love that series to death. It's absolutely amazing. The romance in that book that was cultivated between our two main characters was phenomenal, and our characters in that series had so much depth to them. There were so many layers, and they literally were the type of characters that could walk off the page and be real people. That's how three-dimensional these characters were. So whenever I picked up this series, I was expecting to see that type of character building in these characters as well. And whenever I started to read this, you know, at first it really did pull me in, and there was a awesome beginning intro to it that was just really cool, and I was really excited to read this book. But then as we got to know our main character Ellie and Camden, these characters were just very two-dimensional. I don't think there was a lot of character building for these guys, and I was willing to give these characters the benefit of the doubt, thinking that maybe Karina Halley would start to pull off the layers as I kept on reading the book, and that did not happen. I don't know what happened here, but I just feel like Karina Halley really did not hit the mark at all with this series. And then I also have to say that the relationship that was being built between Camden and Ellie, it wasn't good. It wasn't exciting to me, and the only thing that really kept me interested in this series was the action that was taking place, because there was a lot of action and there wasn't really a dull moment at all as I was reading this book. But even though there was action, that could not save the relationship between these two people, because if y'all know me, I love a relationship. I love a great, well-rounded, and just overall amazing romance, and that was not here. It did not do it for me, and I could not continue on with the series. The second book on my list is Wicked by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So first of all, I want to say that this is another book series that is by an author who is just so beloved to me. I told you before with Sins and Needles, I loved Karina Halley, and with this book series, I absolutely love Jennifer L. Armentrout. If you didn't know this already, she has created one of my favorite book series that I read this year that was literally #1 on my favorites list of 2020, and that was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And with all the books that I've read from her, all the books besides this one, I have loved every single one of them. The way that Jennifer L. Armentrout writes characters and writes the plot is just so good. And so of course, whenever I picked this book up, I was expecting this book to be just as good as all those other books, if not even better, because this book features one of my favorite paranormal creatures ever, which is the Fae. So I was so excited to read this book, but whenever I did start to read it, it was from there that I just realized that the magic that Jennifer L. Armentrout seems to throw into all of her books was not thrown into this one. Something was off. So first, let me just tell you really quick what this is about. So this is about a girl named Ivy Morgan. She is a college student living in New Orleans, and she's also a part of this secret group which hunts down the Fae and kills them. And it's here that she ends up meeting this guy named Ren Owens, who he is a new hunter who has moved here from another state, and they get paired up as partners. And it's there that they end up starting to really like each other. It is like a kind of enemies-ish to lovers in this book. And so these two people, they hunt down Fae by day and they have sex by night. So that's what this book is about. But guys, I'll have you know, as I said in my last book that I was talking about, I am somebody who I am here for not just the romance, but I'm very big about character development. I'm all here for watching a character grow and evolve while they're dealing with the things that are being thrown at them. And with this book, I just feel like our characters were very loosely built, which is very different from the other books that I've read from Jennifer L. Armentrout, because she is great at creating amazing three-dimensional characters, as we saw in the series From Blood and Ash. But that was just lost in this book series, and that is really what really turned me off with this series as well. And I will say another thing that really turned me off to this book was that I feel like it was very predictable. I guessed almost all of the plot lines in this book series, which is really surprising because usually I cannot guess anything. I'm not great at guessing plot lines and twists and turns. That has never been my forte. So it was a really big surprise to me whenever I could guess everything that was going to be going on with this book. So that really does mean that this book was very forthcoming and very predictable. And then, like, guys, let's just talk about the most important thing to me, the romance. Guys, I feel like these two characters barely knew each other. Then they were jumping each other's bones, and I don't feel like there was much build up between these two characters at all. Rin and Ivy, they barely had any true banter and conversation between them before they started to feel very, very attracted to each other, and they started to explore that whole side of their attraction. So guys, I just feel like compared to all the other books that I've read from her, this book series was not good at all. And if I were to have read this book series without reading any of her other series, I probably would never have picked up another book by Jennifer L. Armentrout ever again, because that is how just displeasing this book was to me, and it just wasn't very memorable, and that says it all. So the third book on my list is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. So I want to make something very, very clear. This book was not bad at all. I read this book in full, and there wasn't anything that completely turned me off about this book, but the reason why I have to say that this book disappointed me was because before I picked this book up, I had heard so many phenomenal reviews about this author and this book in particular. So whenever I got this book, I was expecting to be completely blown away and to completely fall into this series and fall into the way this author writes and to just be taken aback and to absolutely fall in love with this book. And excuse me. And whenever I picked this book up and decided to read it, I had a completely different reaction than everybody else whenever it comes to this book. So let me tell you, this book is about a girl who is dating this guy and they're living together, but something happens to where they can't stay in their apartment anymore. So her boyfriend decides to move in with his dad, and the girlfriend moves in with them as well. So it's here where the girlfriend starts to have a forbidden romance with the father, whose name is Pike. And yeah, so this is basically a book about forbidden romance, and it is also a age gap romance as well. So I think one of the main things that turned me off when it came to this book was that by reading the synopsis, we knew going in that this is going to be some huge, big, forbidden romance, you know? Our two main characters sneak around with the son being in the same room, or yada yada yada. Like, I thought there was going to be so much drama when it came to this book. I was expecting it to be like a telenovela or something, you know? But it was very far from what I was expecting this book to be about, because let me tell you, there were things that were going on between the son and the girl. They were having relationship problems, and that basically resulted in them having to take a break for a little while. And it was around that time whenever our two main characters started to really get closer and to pursue a relationship. And that really took out the forbidden romance side of things to me, because yes, I do realize that it was a taboo relationship that they were having, because yeah, he is the father to her boyfriend. But I mean, at the point in time that they started to get together, he was basically like her ex-boyfriend, so not very forbidden. So yeah, that kind of let me down about that aspect of things. And then second of all, the relationship that our two main characters had, it was really sweet, and at the same time it was kind of boring, and I was really turned off about that, because guys, like, I was expecting there to be some huge steam and some huge sparks between our two main characters as they have this forbidden affair. But guys, like, basically what they were doing all day when they were together is they were watching TV and eating food and just acting like an old married couple, and that wasn't exciting, guys. I thought this book, from what everybody else has said about this book, I was expecting this to be a huge thrill ride of a romance that kept me on the edge of my seat as they had this type of erotic and steamy secret affair. and instead I was delivered with a cute, sweet relationship that reminds me of my parents. So yeah. The fourth book on my list is The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. Okay guys, let me just tell you what this is about really quick so that I can get into all the dirty deets that y'all are looking forward to. So this is about a girl who in the synopsis we are told is going to be not the hero of the story, but the villain of the story. And so this is going to be following a girl who decides to go to this court and meet this king known as the Shadow King so that she can try to make him fall in love with her, then marry her, and then on their wedding night she can kill him and take the throne for herself. So the king in particular in this story, he's supposed to be bad as well. He is a big villain, and he's basically like the Damon Salvatore in this book series, right? So guys, whenever I read this synopsis, I was so excited because, you guys, I love a good villain, but I especially love whenever our female character is bad as well and is not afraid to get their hands dirty. Because guys, I read so many books where the man is the anti-hero of the story and the girl, our main leading female character, is so sweet and so good and can't do anything and needs the guy to protect her. Like, yeah. So whenever I saw this book and I read the synopsis, you guys, I was hooked, right? I was so excited. So then I started to read this book, and that was whenever things just went completely south from there. Let me just tell you really quick, really easy, these characters are so far from three-dimensional. They're not even two-dimensional. They are one-dimensional. Whenever I was reading this book, there was just no character development. These characters had very weak personalities, and there was just no layers to them at all. Basically, all we knew about these characters was that they were bad. Whenever we were in the head of our main female girl, basically all she said throughout the whole novel was that she's a bad girl. She's a very, very bad girl. She likes to kill people. She has killed people. She's a very, very, very bad girl. Literally, that is what she talks about throughout the whole book series. Oh, and, you know, we can also throw in that, oh, the Shadow King is actually really, really hot. He's really, really hot. Yeah. So throughout this whole book, which is very small, I might add, maybe that's why there's no character development, that is all we come to learn about our main female character. And the guy, he is not written good at all as well. I was expecting him to be like Damon Salvatore. I was expecting him to be hot and bad and immoral in all of the juiciest ways imaginable, but he was very far from that. He was just boring, and the relationship that they built between each other was boring. It was flat, just like their characters, just like their personality, and there was nothing exciting about their relationship at all. So yeah, I mean, I was expecting these two characters to go at each other's throats, but really what we were delivered was a bunch of court drama and gossip that's going on as she is learning about the new court that she is living in. And then we also get to hear about every single outfit she wears and about how fabulous she is and how much of a trendsetter she is. Like, guys, like, I cannot tell you how much excruciating detail went into this story as our author described exactly what our main character was wearing. It was annoying. But yeah, so that is The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. So the final book on this list is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. So this is a retelling of the myth and love story between Persephone and Hades. And this follows our main girl named Persephone, who is attending college in this place known as New Athens, and it's here that she ends up meeting Hades, who is the owner of this nightclub slash gambling den, and she goes to this nightclub, and it's here where she meets Hades, and she ends up making a deal with him, and the deal is that she has to somehow make and bring about life in the underworld, and if she does that, then she gets to be free of the underworld and she gets to live her own life in New Athens. But if she does not make a life in the underworld, then she has to stay with Hades forever. So, you guys, the reason why I didn't like this book was, once again, I sound like a broken record, but these characters, they were so boring, and there was no depth to these characters whatsoever, and that also goes into the romance that was built between this. And guys, let me just say, there was nothing built between them. There was no romance built between them. It was just instant. Basically, from the very beginning, they met, they thought one another was very attractive, and then from there on out, they were together and they had sex, and yeah, that was it. And another thing that I really did not like about this series was our main character. I did not like Persephone whatsoever. Like, let's take out the fact that there wasn't much character development for our girl Persephone. I just did not like her character. I didn't like her, and I didn't like how she treated Hades. She was somebody who her mother had, I guess, kind of brainwashed her and made her think that Hades wasn't the best guy ever. And so every time she was with Hades, even though he would do good things and he would show her that he's a good guy and that he's far from the person that her mom made him out to be, she always demonized him. She demonized his personality. She demonized all of his actions. And even when he did good things, she always managed to find the bad out of the good, which is just so annoying. And then I hated how Hades responded to that. Like, she was so cruel to him. She would say such terrible things to him and call him a terrible man, a terrible god of the underworld, and then he would go around and tell her how amazing she is and how just in love he is with her and how she is just the sweetest, most amazing person he has ever met. Like, what the heck? Like, that was just so unbelievable to me. Like, I could not believe that he had any type of warm and cuddly feelings for her after the way that she treated him. And that was what I really didn't like about this book. It was that I didn't find the relationship believable whatsoever, because let's be honest, if this was real life and this was the real world and a girl and a guy met and the girl always talked down to the guy and told him how awful he was and how annoying he was, that guy would not be saying how in love he is with her and would not be whispering sweet nothings into her ear. Like, no, he would leave and he would go on to another girl who would treat him better than how she was treating him. Because, guys, there are plenty of fish in the sea. Why settle for a fish that acts more like an eel when you can have a freaking awesome rainbow fish, okay? And guys, rainbow fishes are freaking cute and awesome and majestic, you know? So I feel like this is a really weird metaphor. I hope that y'all are following along with me. But yeah, so basically, at the end of the day, I just thought this relationship was very toxic, and I don't like toxic relationships. It's not my thing. It doesn't get me excited for a series. So yeah, that is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. So guys, we have made it to the very end of this video. I hope that y'all enjoyed my endless rants about all the books that were so disappointing to me in the year of 2020. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I post new videos every week, and it would be awesome to be able to welcome you to my little corner of the BookTube community. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day. Mwah. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.